Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Husna Khairani, and today I'm going to talk about grammar and vocabulary. So, what is the definition of grammar? Grammar is a set of lists about do's, don'ts, and rules that tell us about what we should say or what should we write. Grammars that make distinction between incorrect and correct forms is called this perspective grammar, while the one that do not make a distinction between the forms, rather it aims to describe language in a way that it is usually used, is called descriptive grammar. And in applied linguistics, we tend to use pedagogical grammar, which is more similar to descriptive grammar than to perspective grammar. And next is issues when learning grammar. The first one, the first point is which rules of grammar to describe. So grammar has both the fixed rules, maybe like the word order, and the flexible rules, which like the subject-verb agreements, which has some exception. And what we include in grammar, it's actually depends on who it is for. Some people focuses only like on formal grammar or correct English, and the other people also includes the informal one or the everyday speech. So different views of grammar, maybe like which is it is written or spoken, will affect how grammar is described or taught in schools. Next is the form and function. Different types of grammar models serve different function. Let's take example maybe like the formal one, which focuses usually on sentence rules or structure. Like the one in Chomsky's generative grammar, it describes how we form sentences by using our internal or mental rules, which called competence. This approach focuses on how sentences are built, not how it is used. And in contrast, Himes introduced the concept of functional grammar, which adds the ideas about communicative competence, not only competence but communicative competence, which means that we are not only know about the grammar but also about how it is used in different situations maybe. And next is types of grammar. The first one is the discourse grammars. So corpus studies has led to more interest in discourse grammars, which works on the larger scales, maybe in text, not only a single sentences. And also about how language is organized in maybe conversations, stories, or written text, and even how grammar choices are influenced by the context, and even the things outside the language itself, maybe like the situation or the setting. And about the discourse, yeah, grammatical choices are also influenced by what the speakers or writers thinks or want to highlight in the text. So Chelsea Mercy and also other linguists point out that many grammar decisions, maybe like word order, voices, or tenses, are not strictly built by rules but also by interaction and exposure. And the next one is the spoken or written discourse. So corpus studies have like make have highlighted the key difference of spoken and written grammars, which raise many important questions such as how grammar should be described. And it is like the it also point out the importance also point out about how spoken language is actually overlooked, and it is deserve more attention in applied linguistics. Researchers maybe like McCurdy also uh, point out that about the importance of recognizing the spoken grammar in teaching. He also argued that if we only focus on the written forms or the formal speech, we will leave out many important features in everyday spoken English. And after the types, we have the limitation of grammar description. So the ideas of this is that even with detailed research, we cannot fully explain grammar in isolation because it is highly connected to other part of languages. Let's take the interdependence of grammar and lexis. So it is about how grammar and vocabularies are highly linked. For example, the verb tense. It may change depending on the word that we are used. So, and some verbs naturally limit the grammatical structure that are possible to use. It shows that grammar often depends on vocabulary. And then after that we have learning and teaching grammars. The first one is about the learning. So in the middle of 20th centuries, learning grammar was seen as a forming habits by using repetition and drills, and also to avoid mistakes to prevent bad habits. But in recent years, we came to realization that as are, are encouraged to form and test the rules actively, and our mistakes are also fused as part of learning. And in the research of second language acquisition, it shows that we as a learner have dynamic interlanguage, and grammar is not learned by strict rules, but also through interaction and problem solving. And for the teaching in modern grammar teaching, it is help students to realize that what they are learning not only relies on memorization, but in the traditional way, the teachers explain directly to the students. But in the recent years, in the newer approach, we tend to use the repeating grammar forms often, and also highlighting they in text, and even use some methods maybe the problem solving to discover new rules, to help students discover the rules. And that's for the teaching. And after that we have I'm so sorry and after that we have the which vocabulary to choose. So in choosing vocabulary for learners, it is important to consider both of the what the learners needs and how useful the words are. But in more specific field, the technical vocabulary plays a key role because they usually make up 20 to 30% of the text. So if you are a learner in specific field, you have to learn the technical vocabulary in that field because you have to understand and become fluent in using that to ensure that you understand it and can use it effectively. And after that we have how vocabulary should be learned. We have 4 points in this one. The first one is output. I forget. So basically it will focus on the input. So it involves listening and also reading. And the second one is focus on the output, which is involves speaking and also writing. And the third one we have deliberate vocabulary now learning. So which is we intentionally study the vocabulary. And then we have fluency development. So in this one we usually use the word that we are already know to enhance our fluency. And the next point is about developing fluency with vocabularies across the 4 skills. Like I have mentioned before, if we want to enhance our fluency, it will be better for us to use the words that we already know or familiar with. So there are two ways for this one. For this, the first one is by using repetition. So we speaking and reading the same thing several times until we become fluent in it. And also we have we have to use our the words that we are already know in different situations. So it requires us to write a lot and reading a lot, and also storytelling. These methods can help us as a reader to become can help us as a speaker and as a learner to become more confident and faster and smooth in using language. And then after that we have not before the assessing one, we have guessing by context, using context to guess. So the more vocabulary we know, the easier for us to guess a meaning of the word. For example, I am not familiar with this word, but I know the surrounding words of it, and I can use my knowledge of that surrounding words to at least guess the ideas about what is the word, what is the meaning of the word. Yeah. So, but it also has to be supported by directly learning about that word. And the last one we have assessing vocabulary knowledge. So vocabulary tests serve many purposes. Maybe to know how many words someone knows, or what they have just learned, or what they have learned in the past, or even know their strengths and weaknesses. For example, we can use the vocabulary level test, yes or no test, vocabulary dictation test, and vocabulary size test. Maybe that's all from me. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.